In this video, we're going to go over an alternative method to using decimals to finding the percentage of a number. We're going to use proportions. This is a method that is often used by a lot of teachers. I actually prefer using decimals, which again, I showed in a different video, but I'm going to show you this with proportions. It's equally cool. Let's check it out. The overall idea is this. If you're tasked with finding the percent of a number, in this case 25% of 44, we set up a simple proportion each and every time. We're going to use it as a template. This proportion is the percent out of 100 is equal to the part out of the whole. So I'm going to write that out here. So the percent out of 100 is equal to the part out of the whole. Now, why does this work? Well, what you're really doing is you're saying, I want the percentage or the ratio of the number out of 100 to be the same as some number out of the whole amount. Because then if I'm asking for 25% of 44, I'm really saying I've got 25 out of 100 and I want to know what number out of 44 gives me the same ratio as 25 per 100. That's why it works. So let's go ahead and use this process. It's a lot longer than actually doing this with the decimal process, but it works. So let's do it. So we've got the percentage, which is 25. So you have 25 out of 100. That is equal to the part. We don't know what the part out of 44 is. So the 25% out of 44, well, 44 is the whole that we're taking the chunk out of, the piece of, that we're taking the percent on, however you want to put it. So we're going to just call that x. We don't know what it is. Now, to solve this out, we simply cross multiply. Now, before I cross multiply, I'm going to note that we can simplify that left-hand side to 1/4. The GCF of 25 and 100 reduces that down to 1/4, dividing numerator and denominator by 25. That makes this cross multiplication much more palatable, meaning it's a little easier to chew on mathematically. So I'm going to cross multiply. 44 times 1 is much nicer than 44 times 25. And 4 times x. That's what we get right there. So I guess I'll put the circle there too. Why not be consistent? Then we get 44 divided by 4. So I'm going to put that work up here. Divide both sides by 4. Right here and right here. And I get x is equal to 11. So that's not a percentage, that is the number that is 25% of 44. And 11 out of 44 is 1/4 or 25%. Now I do want to take a moment just to point out that we could have done this mentally as well. We could have looked at this problem and said, 25% is 1/4. And 1/4 of 44 means we multiply by 44. I've gone over why multiplication with the word of is a direct translation several times now, so hopefully we've got that down. 1/4 of 44, put that over 1. 4 goes into 44 11 times. And so we're left with just 11. So that's a different way of doing the problem and a little more direct. So I think it's worth your while to memorize percentages and their easy translations and decimals as well. So 25% or 0.25 is 1/4. 0.5 or 50% is 1/2. 0.75 or 75% is 3/4. You could do 0.1 is 1/10. There's a lot of them that you can memorize. 1/5 is 0.2. It's up to you how much you want to memorize them as percents and decimals, but it can lead to shorter problems down the road. Your call. All right, if you're good after that example, no need to keep watching. But if you're not great, or you're like, you know what, let's check out one more. Here we go. I'll show you another usage of a proportion. So this problem right here, it says find 82% of 140. So to do that, I'm going to look at this problem and say, cool, I'm going to do percent of 100 is equal to some number, right, out of, and you know what, I'm not going to put x yet. I'm going to say some part out of the whole. Awesome. So the percentage that we're given here is 82%. So I want 82 out of 100 to be equivalent to the part out of the whole, which the part we don't know. It's some number out of 140, and the whole is 140. Okay, so now from here, I am very simply just going to cross multiply and solve. So Cross multiply here. 82 times 140 is 11,480. And you better believe I put that one in the calculator before. And then 100 times x is equal to 100x. We divide both sides by 100. Once I do that, dividing by 100 is not so bad, right? We can move our decimal place once, twice to the left. So we're going to get 100, or use a calculator, 114.8 is equal to x. And so that is a number that is 82% of 140. This is not a good candidate for using that shortcut technique I said of calling this 1/4 and making that direct mental translation, because 82%, that's not readily on hand in most people's minds as an easy fraction conversion. So just another alternative of how to find percentages of a number. You can use proportions, decimals, or a little bit of mental math. It's so worth the practice. This is something that I use almost every single day in normal real life calculations.